Hey YouTube, this is Dean making another vid. If you like my content, please consider hitting the like button. Also, please consider subscribing, as it is very much appreciated. Okay, my Bunnings bucket full of files. I went a bit stupid because I was having trouble getting files, because anyone who's watched my channel knows I like to make my strikers out of files, because it's a good way of getting cheap metal that sparks really well, and you can really get some good bargains if you look for them. I've got onto a bloke on eBay. He's selling Wiltshire files, which is my preferred file because they're Australian made, which doesn't bother me. It tickles my fancy a bit, but I found the Wiltshire file is a reasonable quality file of excellent metal because it sparks well, and they're an old vintage file. And if you make, I found a way of forging strikers and retaining all, pretty much retaining the logos. So when I make my strikers, which I didn't bring one out, I should have bought one out, I retain the Wiltshire or whatever logo, and usually on the other side has, and of course I can't find one that does. See, that one says Wiltshire Australia, a Wiltshire file, Wundercut. Yeah, anyway, so quite often it'll have Wiltshire Australia and then say second cut or bastard file or whatever type of file it is. They change it around a lot, but yeah. Anyway, I retain the logo, and when people get my strikers, I think it's really good that they can see what file it's made of, and an Australian getting an Australian file made by an Australian, there's a lot of symmetry there. So that's why I liked the Australian file. When I gave Dominic Minischetti that giveaway, I made it out of a Nicholson USA, because there was a pretty good chance that the person who won that was going to be from America. So I retained all Nicholson markings, and it said USA. So I think Scott won it. SD Mountain Man, I'm pretty sure, won it. So he would have had the Nicholson, it would have said Nicholson USA, because that incidentally, that's a Nicholson USA file. I don't have very many of them, those files. That's the only one I've got. That's a Nicholson USA file. But but I got onto the eBay seller, because I used to get them at the markets and they were a pretty good price. So I'd usually get them for about $5. I keep seeing that everyone says you can buy them for $1 each, but I've never been able to find them. I don't know where you can get them for $1 each, markets or yard sales. I go to the occasional yard sale. I never see files. I've never seen a file at a yard sale. Markets, the cheapest ones I've ever seen were $2, $3. Really small needle files, maybe $1 each, 50 cents each. But needle files are pretty much useless for me. I can make little snakes out of them, but yeah, because I make the snake. That's a snake that's in progress at the moment. But yeah, I usually pay about $5 for them. And the big rasps, that's a big rasp, Farrier's rasp, $10 for them. So that's a good one. I think I paid $10 for that rasp. Have a look at that, 8mm thick, rasp. I'm going to make a big chopper. I've already got the that's going to be a beast of a chopper out of it. I'm going to make a knife out of that one. I've already got the, so that's going to be a sticking knife. So those are two. I'm not a knife maker, but those two are going to be knives. I get the rounds. I've separated those ones out. Round and square ones usually make either rats. Rounds I tend to make mice or rats now, or snakes. That one I make snakes out of. But yeah, I just wanted to show you the files. I tend to, I've been getting them off eBay now. That last lot, I've actually bought 30, I get 8 for $54. So that's about $6 each. And I get 7 of them plus a half round. So yeah, I give the half round ones to Andrew because I don't use them. But I may keep this one because it's a Nicholson USA. And I don't know what I'll do with that one yet. But that, yeah, it's a Nicholson USA, made in USA, bastard file. So it's a half round. He normally turns them into Cobras. He does a really good job with them too. But this one, it's a bit bashed about. But the last couple I've got, he actually kept because they're in such good nick that they can be used as files. But I've been getting these ones too from that same eBay seller, and these are the best ones. These are the most preferred ones that I like. They're the safety file, so they haven't got the teeth on one side, and then they're thick, really thick, nearly 6 mil thick, Wiltshire file, square. I think they're 10 inch long, second cut. They don't actually tell you, but I think that one's a bastard, but these two here are second cut. So they're not aggressive. They make a fantastic striker, because this is the one I make because I bought 3 lots of those. This is one I'm going to make a striker out of. I'm going to put the extra curl on them. I've already got it marked out, so I'm going to do the extra curl on the back here, and yeah, just to do it. But that's another one of those, really, that's my preferred file for it. It's a fantastic, but I like it too because it's got a big space here, empty space for my touch mark. So my new touch mark, so that works out really well. But I've got the bucket there. I don't know, I've probably got 60 files in there now, so I'm not going to buy any more for a while because I'm trying to get away from making strikers so much and taking on more blacksmithing projects. So I've used striker making as a vehicle to teach me the skills of blacksmithing, and which was a really good vehicle to teach me the basics. So I've learned my hammer work, learned how to do finishing work, planishing and all that, using the anvil and everything. And it's been a really good journey into blacksmithing. And I've probably made 150, 200 strikers all up. And yeah, it's been a really good way of honing my skills and getting into being able to do other projects now. So, and I want to take on more and more different projects of making different things. I do want to make a couple of knives, but I am no knife maker. And I actually find it boring because knife making's 90% grind work, and if you're lucky, and 10% blacksmithing, because I don't usually blacksmith. You basically do virtually no hammer work on it, so you just cut it out and then it's called stock removal, and then grind it all up, and then you might, if you're feeling ambitious, do the hammer the bevels in it, but most of the time you just grind it all out. Basically, it's grind it out, then throw it in the forge to heat treat it, and there's virtually no hammer work in it at all. So, yeah, unless you do a blacksmith's knife where you actually hammer out the arse end of it. So, yeah, which doesn't interest me at all, because I find grinding pretty boring, because all you're doing there is sitting there on a grinder. I don't mind grinding when there's a end goal into it, as far as like making a hammer or something like that. But yeah, just grinding all day on making knives, yeah, it just doesn't interest me at all. I find that boring. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But more power to you if you want to do that. But as far as making knives go, but I've got a couple there that I want to do. But I just want to stretch myself into more blacksmithing stuff. And I just want to. I might. See, I don't know. I might actually make this into a striker, because I can. The only thing is, I won't be able to retain the Nicholson, so I don't know. I might talk to Andrew about it. I'll see what I can do. Retain the Nicholson and find some way of doing something with this, but still retain that. So I don't know about that, but yeah. But if you're looking for files, definitely eBay. You can get onto them. Don't try and buy. Like, be careful with the Nicholson, especially because the later Nicholsons aren't as good. So if you're buying them for strikers, you can get Nicholson that are made in Mexico. And I don't want to disparage them, but I think they're case hardened. So I don't think they are of the same quality as the old Nicholsons, because the older Nicholsons are thoroughly hardened and of really good steel. So they'll be 1095 or W1. And I think the Wiltshire files are W1 or 1095 or around that equivalent type of steel. So yeah, because I've never had a problem with them sparking. And even this one, even though that this has not been hardened, it still sparks, no dramas whatsoever. And it only gets better when you put it in the quench tank, and then, because they would have been tempered, they temper the files, bring their hardness down a little bit, just in case you drop them so they won't snap. But you can still get files from markets and that for a bit cheaper. But yeah, the main place for cheap files that I found is eBay. But it does bring them up, because people still think that you're using them as files and not for metal. So they still want to charge you, even though these haven't been made for 20 years or 30 years. They mark them as new old stock. So they want to charge you almost new prices for them. And I can't get Nicholson files here in Australia, because one file will cost me $40 or $50, because it'll be $10 for the file and then $40 or $30 in postage. So to get one Nicholson file will cost me that much money. It's as simple as that. One Nicholson file that size would cost me the same as what would cost me to buy all of those Wiltshires, even though that one isn't a Wiltshire. All of that. So for 8 Wiltshire files, it would cost me the same as buying one Nicholson file. But this is in my bucket. These are the different ones. These aren't Wiltshires. The rest of them are all Wiltshire files. So there'd be probably 50 or 60 in there. But these ones are all different brands. I've got a couple of here. that are all different brands. I've got one that I'm going to send over to Gerbs. It's made in Nicholson, made in Canada. So I think that's a nice one for him. That's a Nicholson made in, I don't know, I can't read it. You know, I've got another Nicholson made in Canada. But I've separated that other Nicholson for Gerbs. Nicholson made in another Canada. Yeah, I got a couple of them. Then I got a Nicholson with the W on it. Yeah, few of these. A Frost in Korea. Yeah, so I've got a few of them. They're all different ones. But if you're looking for cheap files, yeah, I'd still eBay's about the best place that I've found. You just got to be careful with it and only buy them in country because otherwise the postage is going to kill you, and that's what I've found anyway. Just be careful. Just go in with your eyes open because while I haven't been ripped off yet, I have heard of people like John from Black Bear Forge. He got not necessarily ripped off, but they sent, like he thought he got old Nicholson made in America for files, and then they sent them, and they were Nicholson made in, I think they're either Brazil or Mexico. So, and they weren't what he thought they were. So, they were not the best quality file that you could get. So yeah, and these little ones, they're good for smaller strikers. They're small knife or anything. But yeah, the files they do make a nice little knife. If you want to, you can, for hobbyists who only want to make one knife, you can spend $20 or $30 on a file on eBay and then just grind it out. As long as you keep it cold, just do a little bit of grind work, just stock removal, and it doesn't take much to make a knife out of that. And then grind it all out. You don't even have to harden it because these are probably 60 Rockwell. So, and made out of W1. So it's going to rust. It's high carbon steel. So just keep it oiled up, but it'll make a damn fine knife if you just want to do a bit of stock removal, and all you need is a bench grinder, and you'll be able to do that in an afternoon as long as you keep it cool. So as long as you can touch it while ever you're grinding it, doesn't take much to grind one out, and that's an easy project to do, and you'll never drill it unless you've got a carbide tip, and then even then it's probably pretty tough. But you can drill down here, down on the tine, because they actually soften them right up, because they don't actually, they temper these right out, so that's pretty soft. But you'd virtually never drill this stuff here. I've tried, and it's really hard, even with the carbide tips. They're almost impossible to drill, because as you're drilling too, work hardens, so it hardens as you're going, so because it'll get hot, and it doesn't matter how much you lube it, they're almost impossible to drill unless you throw it in the forge, normalise it, so air cool it, or put it in vermiculite, let it cool overnight, and then you can drill it. It'll drill it straight through it. So yeah, but then you have to quench it again to be able to do it. But anyway, I'll cut this off because otherwise it'll be too long. But just wanted to talk about these. Yeah, eBay, probably your best bet. Just put in vintage files or metal files, vintage file lots, or by brand, and then you'll go through and you'll see a lot of it. That'd be probably your best bet. If you're in Australia, yeah, the Wiltshire files are still on there. There is a couple of sellers that are doing them in lots. I probably shouldn't say that because I'll kill myself. Because someone would start going buying them all up. But yeah, that doesn't really bother me either. You know, like yeah, I like sharing it around. Yeah, but yeah, they do. Don't worry. And if you're forging, if they look like that, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. The forge will blow that all off. You know, it just the rust doesn't bother the forge at all. The forge will blow that all off, so rust doesn't worry it at all. Loves it. Yeah, so it's all cool. It's no dramas whatsoever. So it's all fun and games in the forge. A bit of rust doesn't bother it. The first time it comes out of the forge, it'll come out and all that scale will just fall off straight away. So there's no worries there. Anyway, files, probably one of your best bets for salvageable metal. For strikers especially. These are really good. The old ones are excellent. New ones are not real good. They're because they're case hardened. Although some people say the case hardened you can get them to spark, but I've never had a success with new files. So yeah, I've only had the vintage ones. Anyway, thanks for watching.